Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're putting on our behavioral psychologist hats to observe a truly high stakes social survival challenge. We've got a group of individuals isolated on a tropical island for 30 days. But listen, this isn't just about foraging for food or building a shelter out of bamboo. No, this is about surviving a heavily engineered, intensely stressful human ecosystem. Think about it. What actually happens when one person holds absolute, unchecked power over six of their exes? We're not looking at this like some reality game. We're treating this isolated island like a giant, fascinating petri dish for observing human coping mechanisms. Imagine taking a pre-existing social dynamic, a woman named Ashley and six of her former romantic partners, and isolating them completely, just stripping away all normal societal buffers. To really understand their behavior, we have to look at the foundational rule of this entire environment. The host lays out clearly, and the last ex standing by winning her back over will win $250,000. That single rule is huge. It creates this fierce economic and emotional motivation that drives literally every action these guys take. Ashley holds the key to a massive financial windfall. So that brings us to phase one, the ultimate power asymmetry. Before we go further, let's define what we're actually looking at here. Power asymmetry is essentially a severe imbalance in power or resources that leads to a totally one-sided dependency. From day one, Ashley holds all the chips. Every 5 days, she has the unilateral power to eliminate someone by physically smashing a stone representation of their heart with a hammer. Placing six men in a state of complete powerlessness means they have to immediately adapt if they want to survive. It's wild to see how quickly the majority of the subjects resort to extreme ingratiation just to secure her favor. The day one survival strategies are incredibly telling. I mean, the men immediately rush to set up Ashley's hammock. They do all the heavy lifting while she rests in the shade. They're offering constant compliments and basically declaring themselves as her physical perfectors against, hypothetical bears. It's a rapid primal pivot straight into servitude. Moving right along to phase two. The cost of reactance. Now, in any behavioral study, the outliers provide some of the most critical data. And this dichotomy is brilliant. On one side, we have the dominant strategy of sycophancy, basically submitting to control, building the camp, treating the authority figure like a princess. But on the other side, we have reactance. One subject, Jake, completely defies control. He plays hard to get and remains totally aloof to the intense economic pressures of the island. When confronted by absolute authority, Jake doesn't grovel. Instead, he drops this absolute bomb on day one. Yeah, it's true. You're too old for me. By explicitly insulting the person holding absolute power over his fate, Jake exhibits classic reactance. He's attempting to reclaim his own control by rejecting the premise of the experiment entirely. But here's the thing. Failing to adapt to a severe power asymmetry yields immediate and absolute consequences. The progression is just brutal. Step 1, exhibit defiance. Step 2, become the primary target precisely because you refuse to validate the authority figure. Step 3, have your physical heart smashed by a hammer on day 5. Jake's psychological rebellion resulted in swift removal. In a state of absolute asymmetry, aggressive reactance is basically social suicide. All right, let's look at phase 3. Performative affection. Following Jake's elimination, baseline anxiety in the camp completely spikes. We can actually neatly categorize the surviving men into specific behavioral archetypes based on how they navigate their powerlessness. You've got Mitchell stepping into the charmer role, constantly flirting and offering emotional validation. Danny adopts as the jester, making shell earrings and offering constant distraction. Derek acts as the stoic, keeping emotional distance so he can quietly plan his endgame. And then Gary operates as the competitor, exerting what little dominance he can by simply outperforming everyone else in these grueling physical challenges. Over time, we witness this really clear degradation in their baseline behavior. The subjects start performing increasingly absurd acts of affection out of pure, unadulterated desperation. It starts normally enough on day 1 with setting up camp. But look at day 9. They are physically exhausting themselves digging in the sand just to earn a date. By day 11, the anxiety pushes them into frantically building these manic sand pathways just to impress her. And by day 15, they are doing guided beach yoga, literally instructed to exhale their toxic lying traits. The pressure cooker pushes them into extreme performative theater. Which brings us to phase 4, the entertainer versus the stoic. Eventually, the intense stress of the environment impacts the person holding the power too. Ashley withdraws into what she actually calls a depression hole. And this is the ultimate test for the men's coping mechanisms. Derek, the stoic, gives her space. He quietly analyzes the endgame strategy. It's a very logical retreat. Conversely, Danny, the entertainer, forces interaction. He uses nonstop humor and builds these bizarre sand sculptures just to cheer her up. It's a fascinating clash between logical withdrawal and a desperate need to constantly inject oneself into the situation. And what's the actual result of these conflicting strategies? Well, Ashley explicitly tells Danny, "I'm really contemplating keeping you here to use you for entertainment value." Even though they cause friction over trivial things, like literally arguing about Harry Potter books, Danny's strategy as the jester creates tangible utility. In a highly isolated environment, distraction is an incredibly valuable resource. He manages to secure his survival, even when genuine trust is completely absent. Now for Phase 5, the final trust dilemma. As this experiment nears its conclusion, a brand new element fundamentally destabilizes the established social hierarchy. Boom! $50,000. By outlasting all the others in a grueling 90-minute physical challenge over open water, Danny is secretly awarded a massive, guaranteed sum of cash. This secret cache of money immediately alters the baseline power asymmetry. Hidden economic resources completely shift the social hierarchy. Suddenly, Danny becomes a rogue variable. He's no longer entirely dependent on Ashley for a financial reward. He now holds hidden leverage and a psychological independence that the other men on the island simply do not possess. This setup perfectly sets the stage for the endgame condition, totally mirroring the classic prisoner's dilemma. For anyone unfamiliar, it's a paradox indecision analysis where two individuals acting in their own self-interest do not produce the optimal collective outcome. The final survivor has to make a massive, life-altering choice. Do you split the grand $250K prize with Ashley, hoping for a mutual benefit? Or do you act purely in your own self-interest and steal the whole thing? And here is the ultimate psychological friction of this entire experiment. Ashley states on record, "There is one person I wouldn't trust with $1, let alone 250K of them, and that's Danny." Think about that. The survival tactics bred by massive power imbalances, the sycophancy, the performative affection, the strategic entertainment, they fundamentally destroy genuine trust. She kept him around because he was useful, but the absolute cost of that dynamic is a complete and total lack of faith in his actual intentions. So, we are left with a massive question to chew on. When absolute power dictates our survival, does it destroy our capacity for genuine human trust? Take a second to think about what this means for our own social interactions, whether that's in our workplaces or our personal relationships. If you are forced to perform just to survive, can you ever truly trust the person holding the hammer? What would you choose if you were the last one left standing on that island?